Greetings. My name is Siobhan Montague. I am a member of the Hermes class with the one-day program, and this is my assessment video. First and foremost, I wanted to have a quick disclaimer as to how the progress of my one-day experience has transitioned my original North Star to where I am now. As an educator in my main life, like in real life, I design lessons with the end in mind. So my original end was I started my business in 2013 doing custom plane trips to Japan. Upon meeting my mentor, JP Armani, if I pronounce his name right, he told me to break up with that concept because I already have a business. If I'm going to get the most out of my one day experience, then I need to look at my business with a fresh pair of eyes. So I honestly couldn't see the forest for the trees. So after reading the mom test and looking at my original demographics of sinks and dinks, young and single income no kids, dual income no kids, and young families and young professionals, I have now transitioned to military families, officers and enlisted, and retirees, as well as military adjacent with other families. That is in my ICP, which I'll be submitting a link to as well. Beginning with that, my current value statement, and I'll share my screen in a second, because my original value statement was based around just Japan. After the first two meetings with my mentor and reevaluating the business and understanding what he was getting at, I have to build a model that I can apply to the global market. The United States military has bases and facilities all over the planet, and they have people that want to live a life outside of their work. So my value statement, I'm building an exclusive platform that provides signature custom tailored experience for active duty military, retired, and their families in partnership with the MWR and ITT services. So for those not familiar with the military, you need a definition. So let's start with the share screen and get into it. And we're going to bounce back and forth between the slides. So MWR stands for Morale, Welfare, and Recreation. As this is going to be included with my submission, you can go and you can see it. In short terminology, because I have a limited time frame, the MWR, when I was a military kid, my dad did 22 years in the Air Force and he did his second career with the VA and retired before he passed. When I was born in Fort Worth, Texas. Then he was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, then Clark Air Force Base, Philippines, Torrejon Air Force Base in Spain, and retired out of my hometown in San Antonio at Lackland Air Force Base. The MWR was always a resource hub for the community, meaning that I could go to the MWR and go to a computer class during summers and after school. I could go join an art class. I could go join a computer class and other activities based on my hobbies and interests. The MWR also provided barbecue pits for rent, tractor trailers for rent, vans, buses, and other things for off-duty personnel to use for recreational purposes. It was not only that, it was a place where different groups of people would meet. For example, at Kadena Air Force Base, I vividly remember going to the Japanese language class outside of school. My mom would take me to the MWR. So the core concept of my new business model is to add access to life experiences that are customizable and a la carte for active duty service members, retirees, and their families. So now moving on to customer discovery questions. I want to share my screen again. I had to build a script based on everyone's needs. So again, the definition of MWR, usually a facility on every military base which serves as a community hub for all ages, ranks, and extends to active duty families. Service includes event tickets and access to travel planning services. ITT is the internal travel and transportation offices, handles planning, coordinations, accommodations, vacations, and special events in the area. Those areas are tailored to the military base and the communities that they serve off base. So if you're in Spain, like in the Madrid area, ITT would have access to events off base. They hold contracts and discounted services with local vendors. On the right side of the screen, I have my four main ICPs. I'm not going to go through all of them. Again, I'm trying to keep it within a time frame, but my script is pretty general on all of them. Establish rapport, listen for pain points and desires, let interviewees walk through their discovery process, decision making and spending. Do not insert our product or service unless directly asked, and let them tell you why. And always, I want to honor the mom test by gathering data. So the big bucket is I had to learn how to separate my current active business, which I do guided tours of Asia, from what I'm building one day. My last several interviews, and I will give you a quick preview of my customer data sheet with the buckets that are added to it in a minute. The main struggle that I've had in one day is always separating what I've done, comparing my levels of success to the potential of what one day is offering, and not trying to feel bitter about the growing process. As an educator, I don't mind being wrong because it helps me expand my skill set, my perspective, and it helps me have insight on how to change the perspective of others. So I'm very grateful for the one day program for what it's offering. Now, I'm not going to highlight names. I am going to hide the name column as I share my customer data with you, and we're going to go through it. So obviously the A column are names, but what's going on is that I have them by my ICP types. Again, active duty, veteran, military adjacent, and retired. Retired and veteran are kind of different because if you complete a complete 12 to 20-year career at the military, you retire from the military. If you only do a limited contract of 2 to 8 years or even 10 years, you're not a retiree from the military, you're a vet. So that's how it's broken down. The next bucket is focus group potential for my new ICPs. After sitting down with my mentor and going through my original Sync, Dink, and Young Professional ICP, I decided to reestablish my ICP basis because my mentor said after our first couple conversations, because I grew up in a military family community and I have unique experiences that give me companionship, kinship, and the ability to have insight into people in the military, they feel at ease talking to me. They can open up the band-aids and give me the unadulterated truth about their pain points, headaches, broken legs, financial statuses, and what their hopes and dreams are. So I had a unfiltered ear into what they were saying. So the next bucket is my officer enlisted. In the military, your run-of-the-mill employee is enlisted. The ratio is usually 200 to 1 officer or 1,000 to 1 officer, depending on the unit. So going through the bucket, I have enlisted officer, and it's just quick, simple. Email, contact information. What are they doing now? How did I get the lead from them? When did I have contact with them? Um, some of my initial interviews, I interviewed them before the sprint, way before, like my customer from Utah, who's a sync. Um, he's actually one of my business customers who needed information to plan his own trip to Japan. So he has March 23rd. But starting in May and going till now, you can keep track of who I talked to, who's scheduled to be talked to, who I need to follow up with, et cetera, et cetera. And then date scheduled, and do I need follow-ups? Some people need follow-ups, and that's why I have the focus group bucket. So the focus group bucket is mainly catered to the people that fit my new target profile. My new target profile are officers enlisted that have either served in a combat zone or not served in a combat zone. The reason being is that the main personality trait that I like to work with are people that want to live life. They want to experience new things, new opportunities, and have a moment to live their best life, as well as their income bracket. Those that are retired from the military have three main benefits. They have their military pension, VA benefits. If they have any disability benefits coming in, it's usually in the form of medical care, financial cash, and an investment tool. Those are the main three for enlisted. For officers, they get their commission retirement, their military retirement, their disability retirement. And if they took advantage of any of the special financial tools for officers in any of the main branches, they have that as well. So the analysis is that the retired military person enlisted is collecting anywhere from $4,000 to $12,000 a month from the government just for breathing after they've done their 12 to 20 years. When you look at officers, that number almost quadruples to starting off anywhere from $16,000 to $40,000 a month after a full 20 years, to where they're millionaires sitting still and no one knows. They have disposable income and they don't have any major hangups financially, meaning that 9 times out of 10, between officer enlisted, homes are paid for, kids are out of the house, either college, starting their own businesses, the up and mobile life living target customer profile either is running a small business, keeping up with the grandkids, or working as a government contractor or a subsidiary of some government agency, meaning that they have time, opportunity, and the finances to use a service. Going through, am I on share screen? I did not share screen. So let me go back to the share screen really quickly, point out all these things. The ICP types, focus groups, officer enlisted email, phone number, all of that is relevant. Getting back to the summation of everything that I picked up so far, I'm going to go to my Miro pain map really quickly. I'm not going to rush through it. And all of my notes are on there. I just didn't label them the right colors, but you'll see in a second. So what I did is that I highlighted all of the major insights that I collected, including that some of my ICPs had to be subcategorized. Enlisted and officer was the first subcategory. The second category was active duty combat vet or active duty no combat and domestic. Some vets have traveled all over the world but never went to a combat zone, so they treated their military experience like they were working a corporate job. Active duty officers enlisted that went to combat zones have either lost friends, lost comrades, or they had a traumatic experience in the military, which reshaped their personal narrative to wanting to live life with their best experience first, foremost, and always at the front of their mind. That shaped their financial decisions into there's no price too expensive as long as I'm getting the value, experience, and the quality that I demand. So listening to that coming from officers enlisted across several of my interviews, it also made me ask, how did you grow up? What brought you to the military? Why is this experience important in your life? Half of the enlisted, about 50% of them, are escaping poverty or a low socioeconomic status. For those enlisted, this is their first time away from home. They are making friendships and building community in basic and tech school, which means that they're being exposed to the world outside of a textbook and outside of their academic upbringing, meaning that they either want to go explore or they're terrified of it. And the service platform that I'm trying to build will give them that community back to have a second opportunity. Fix this one real quick. Active duty overseas, like I said, have had near-death experiences which shifts their mindset towards making every moment count. I want to capture that because that's very important to the model of the business. Now, upon asking everyone, officer enlisted, what made their military experience worthwhile, 95% of all interviewees said that the MWR was their lifeline, whether it was the first time across the United States away from home or overseas, whether it was movies, whether it was parties, whether it was dances, whether it was social events, having access to tickets to concerts or other things, it made it all worthwhile. And I said, walk me through an experience with the MWR. And they all said that it was easy to schedule time, set an appointment, go into the office, give them their laundry list of what they wanted to do. And the MWR would take anywhere from 24 hours to a week to put together a package. Where I am building my business model is that I want to have a person, if not myself, in an MWR office when they want to go travel to the local community of the country that they serve. My best country would obviously be Japan because I've taught on the JET program and I've been to 24 out of the 47 prefectures. I already have established relationships with a Japanese politician. I already have established relationships with 3 communities, a mayor, and tourism organizations. So I would be the best fit. However, what I want to be able to do is hit all of the major talking points of my group. So I identified all of the major things that are insights and benefits, pain points, and I want to highlight pain points, then close this up. Officers enlisted are limited in language and cultural experience when traveling abroad and want a local tour guide, meaning that they want to go ahead and experience what the local community has to offer, but they want to live like locals. They don't want to stand out in the crowd. They don't want to do the touristy travels. All of them across the board, when I have discussed options from different big name vendors in different regions for Europe, for Japan, for Korea, for Asia, or the Atlantic, Pacific or Atlantic, I show them what all the other packages are offering and the price points. The service budgets that I offer people are already 30 to 40% below the competitors. That's the first benefit. Second benefit I'm offering is that my estimates include plane tickets, Euro Pass, JR Rail Pass for Japan, pocket Wi-Fi, and travel insurance, which eases their burden of worry of what happens if something goes wrong. Next, I said, here's what the top 3 in every region are doing, whether it's you're on their schedule. You're literally going to work because they give you wake-up calls. You can't pick and choose what activities without penalty. The penalty being you can't get your money back if you don't participate in an event, a tour, or an experience. My counter offer is we don't start before 10 o'clock. The experiences that they requested, we go through and see what's available that day, go take care of it, have lunch, do a couple more activities, or if they want to separate from the group and be alone and go travel, the liaison has a designated place to meet them so they can go back to the hotel or provides them with the address so they can hand it to a cab driver and they can get back. Done. So the appeal of that was 100% across the board because I beat the price point of the competition, offering value. I gave them the individual a la carte service that they requested. 3, and they could build their own packages and not be locked into tourist traps. So I have that listed under what are the current customer jobs to be done. From jobs to be done cluster, I've already covered that. Basically, my main goal is to offer a 3 service option that can meet the need of all groups. For each country, find local guides and give the insider experience for those coming on the trip. So that nails the language culture barrier. Offer discounts for those traveling from their current base. In the military, there's a thing called TDY, which is temporary duty assignment or temporary duty yield assignment, where you have to travel to a new location. If my office was in every MWR office or we were attached to their network, saying they're going to Italy for 2 months and they needed a tour guide, They could reach out to the local NWR or call before they got to Italy. And when they have their first off day, that could be handled. So that was the plan. Going into the final part of the presentation, um, I've restated a lot of the big things, but the main solution shortlist is that my platform is exclusive through the MWR for the military and family. So that's dependents, retirees, active duty, and vets. For trip, the coordinator is with them for the entire trip from the airport to the trip to the airport, meaning that if they book the service and they're flying to a new destination, the guide meets them at the airport, escorts them to the hotel, is with them for the duration of the trip. Even if they say, "Hey, I'm going on my own," the coordinator is still attached to them, meaning that they're stationed at the hotel. If they go to a mall, the coordinator has a designated spot and will come back and get them and escort them through the trip. Those that don't want the coordinator service, that just want to plan, can still get all of that service from the app. And in case of emergency, they can have our coordinator to come out to assist. Um, Partner clients with team who meet criteria for the desired trip experience. My final insight is that a lot of my interviewees aren't some type of neurodivergent, whether it's they're introverts, whether they are ADHD, whether they also have some form of autism. They want someone that they can relate to, that they feel comfortable with. So they want to have a patient receptive guide, match interests with those who are knowledgeable in their interests locally, and they want some activities and events that build confidence and are healing to them. And I realized this, that my safe place growing up was the MWR, and having someone that could guide me through local experiences and opportunities was a blessing in disguise because it shaped who I am as an educator in my current career. So, with all of that done, those are the big things that I wanted to offer as far as my assessment. All of my value statements reinforce the main objectives of the business. So, again, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure doing this. Hope to talk to you in the future.